A couple of weeks ago, we have the privilege to have Tobian and Phil, and we discussed the reconstruction of the abdominoperineal excision. And I just would like to know, and during that time you were in South Africa attending another course, I just would like to know where do you stand for APE and how the revolution started in England.
Well, early in the last decade, we chose as our annual topic for our special Pelican meeting, APE, are we doing it right? And we concluded we were not, because as Phil has already told us, there were more ruptures, more exposed margins, more oncological failures, in other words, doing APEs than doing TME with conservation of the sphincters. And we attributed that, and I think Phil still does attribute it, to the continuation down in the TME plane, deep into a waist between the levators and puborectal sling and the muscle tube within. And indeed, of course, all those cancers that we have to do APEs for are between, shall we say, 1 and 4 centimeters, and that waist is right where that cancer is most likely to rupture or be exposed. So it becomes, we believe, essential to have a wrap of levator and sphincters around the lowest part of a TME, rather than following the usual visceral plane down into the levator gutter. Now, I learned from Marek Bebenek in Wrocław in Poland, southern Poland, what used to be Breslau in Germany. I learned from him the face down, what I call the Cocker-Holm approach. Cocker because he described the superiority of tackling the low rectum from behind over trying to tackle it from the perineal aspect more than 100 years ago. Torbjörn Holm because he has led in this century the reappraisal of the optimal position. And I immediately became very enthusiastic about the face-down position in the prone jackknife position. Marek Bebenek took me through it like a registrar learning a new operation, and I thought, goodness, this is better than I have been doing it all my life. I can see what I'm doing. I can see the interface between prostate and the front of the specimen. And in one of our Pelican workshops, we even were able to show the nerves, which we show in our, which you're using, our APE video from one of our workshops, which shows perfectly from behind the neurovascular bundles of Walsh. Patrick Walsh described the radical prostatectomy operation, and the urologists, try with some difficulty, I may say, and very variable success to preserve those neurovascular bundles whilst doing an adequate cancer operation for prostate cancer. Impotence is very common, as you know, after that operation. But actually, from behind, we can see those neurovascular bundles if we look carefully and don't get distracted by the fat around. We can follow those neurovascular bundles down, and in many ways, to me, one of the major reasons for doing the operation face down, the bottom end face down, is the probable improvement in the preservation of sexual function. So if you've got a young male patient who's anxious to remain sexually active, I would strongly recommend the posterior approach, the Cocker-Holm approach. there are obvious claimed oncological superiorities too. But I think we have to remember there are also two other kinds of abdominoperineal. One is the intersphincteric, not very often performed, but really quite a minor operation, better than Hartmann's operation, when you just don't want to you don't want to do a reconstruction. You don't want to join the patient up. But oncologically, really, you've got a case that could be an anterior resection, but just the anus is not worth preserving. So intersphincteric abdominoperineal has a place where the lateral margins are not threatened. And then there's the big, wide abdominoperineal after chemoradiotherapy failure in squamous cancer, or for very large or very penetrating adenocarcinomas. So it's a big subject, and I have strong views on all of it, and I personally prefer the face-down approach for most abdominoperineals.